We ain't here to play.
On this episode of Legends with JBL, my interview with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. What was your take on Bischoff and the whole creative process?
WCW is a television company that produces a wrestling show. The WWE is a wrestling company that produces a television show.
Vince sues you guys, and all of a sudden you're in a deposition.
You knew Vince was going to see it, so it was almost like a performance.
People really thought Vince sent us there.
You know who I am.
The rumor was we were still getting paid by Vince, so we went with it. Like, oh, yeah, man, you don't get 2 paychecks.
They give a big raise to guys they've already signed.
Just walked away like dummies.
Hogan is in the building.
When we first did that Who's the Third Man thing in Daytona Beach, we weren't sure he was coming out.
If he doesn't do that, obviously we're not going to sit here.
In professional wrestling, a few events have changed the sport. Frank Gotch defeating George Hackenschmidt in the first recognized world championship. The early days of the television, known simply as the Georgie set, after Gorgeous George. The advent of cable television and WWE going global. The beginning of WrestleMania on the back of Hulkamania. And in just as big a fashion, the jump of these two men from WWE to WCW in 1996 and the start of the Attitude Era. These two men lit a fire that caused the rise of Stone Cold, The Rock, D-Generation X, and the rise of WWE, and conversely, the demise of WCW. A clique that is still talked about to this day. Two of the most influential figures in sports entertainment history. This is Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming on. Did you guys have any idea? I mean, these seminal moments, this really was a seminal moment in wrestling history. Did you have any idea that you were going to cause this seismic shift at the time, or were you just thinking that time, this is where I need to go?
I was pretty confident we were going to change the whole wrestling world. No, for me, I remember rolling out of Madison Square Garden because my contract was up. So I started the next day and thinking, you know, I'm riding with my buddies. You know, we did the curtain call, which was Sean's idea. And it was meant to just say, you know, it morphed into this big heat-seeking thing. And I remember driving out of there thinking, like, wow, I'll never be in Madison Square Garden again. I might never be in front of a sold-out crowd again.
When the curtain call happened, Vince said later, and it was later because he wasn't very happy about it to begin with, even though initially he gave his blessing for it, it just morphed into something beyond what you guys had planned as well, from what I understand. Right. But Vince said on the Click DVD that he learned from it.
That moment was so appreciated by the audience in Madison Square Garden, and I learned from that moment. You know, it was like, oh, wait a minute, there is a page you can turn, you know, for the audience that they otherwise wouldn't see. It's not the traditional, you know, bad guy, good guy, and things of that nature. There's shades of gray here, Vince, and the audience really appreciated that. So I learned from that.
I mean, when I left the ring after putting Triple H over, the fans were chanting, "You sold out." And I was going, yep, I did. I've already had my name chanted around the world, and I felt like I went to Vince and asked him for more money, and he said no. So I sold out. I went to get the guaranteed money on a contract. At first, I initially was leaving, and I remember showing Kevin my contract because I had the favored nations going, brother, if you come, get more than this, because then I do. Initially, he wasn't going to go. But then something happened, and, you know, he'll tell you that, but whatever. And then it was like, oh, I was so happy. I knew at least Kev would be there. And I didn't know what else was going to happen down there.
You left kind of for two different reasons. Scott, you left. You said you talked to Vince. You said, how can I improve my promos? How can I improve my ring work?
Right.
How can I make more money? And Vince said, I'm very happy with you. And you thought at that point there's a glass ceiling.
Well,
and so
I felt like I've never been a mark about, like, winning or losing. I always viewed our business as a team sport, and if you need me to block so the other guy score, cool. As long as we all get the Super Bowl ring. I considered myself the Tito Santana of my era, like upper middle babyface. At that time, if you went through me, you got Diesel, you got Big Kev, and then later it was Sean. But I was that guy where you had the match with me, and if you got through me, and it was, you know, then you went up, and if not, it was like, you go down. I mean.
And you saw that as an advancement of your career.
Well, I thought I was a babyface you can leave laying, and they chanted Razor. I mean, that's not common. And at that time, it was a private company. So I went to Vince and said, hey, boss, you know, like I said, what can I do? Is it my ring work? Is it my mic skills? He went, no, I'm happy with what you do. And I said, well, I'm curious because I feel like my pay has plateaued. But I realized at that time, to Vince, if you make more, it's literally coming out of his pocket. It kind of like, you know, and so I said, listen, I'm not no mathematician, but I do look at the merchandise statements. I said, if we move the decimal point a little bit, would the McMahon family notice? Because the Hall family would. And he went, nope, not going to do it. I'll give you the same thing I give Taker and Big D and Sean. Nope, not going to do it. I went, okay. And I knew I was going to meet with Vince, so I was prepared. I said, okay. You know, because if a fan buys a Razor shirt, that's their money. Can I have more of that? No. Okay. I still want to work for you. Can I go to Japan like 10, 12 weeks a year and get their money? And he goes, well, I'm not going to say no because I do let Backlund go, but as soon as I had you over there, I'd need you here. And I remember thinking, okay. Like, ouch, like, no.
And you saw opportunity closing here, at least a limit on it. And, Kevin, you saw the fact that there's going to be a lot of money for a lot less work. And you had a pregnant wife at the time.
I left on the 6th, and my son was 6th of June, and my son was born June 12th. And, you know, we've done the Starving Artist. I'm ready to do the signed lithos. You know, like I want to get paid. I mean, this is I go to work to get paid. That's, you know, I'm a Detroit kid. That's what you do. You brought with that blue collar mentality.
One thing you guys did, and thank you very much, you brought in guaranteed contracts. So I want to thank you very much.
You know what?
Very much for that, because the old contract, people don't know this.
$1,500 a year.
That's right, guaranteed 10
People
shots.
don't believe that.
At $150 per shot. So there's no downside. If you're hurt, if something's wrong.
No, see you. Thanks for playing. We'll see you. Well, if
you
you
don't
were
get
hurt,
paid.
it was a different era then. If you're hurt, can't you just do something, kid? If you're in the middle of a storyline, the last thing you want to do is stop because it affects you, the other guy, his family, your family, you know.
I'd just come in at that time. I was scared to death. When you guys left, I'd never seen anybody leave. And
Nobody ever left on top.
That's right. Nobody
you always
ever.
got recycled and still got a pretty good deal from WCW.
Right.
To me, the only reason it worked was because people really, that's what Bischoff planted the seed was, people really thought Vince sent us there because they were doing Where the Big Boys Play. And they were, you know, whenever somebody would leave to come to WWE, they would show Sting beating them and then say, Where the Big Boys Play. The night I debuted and came through the crowd, I'm going to give props to Larry Zbyszko. He helped me a lot in the AWA days. And he was the one, because Bischoff would have had him play ring music and send me down the aisle. And I would have done it because anything you want, brother. And Bischoff went, no, he's got to come through the crowd. He doesn't work here. And that's what, to me, made it work, you know. And he said, yeah, when he gets in the ring, he doesn't beat the other guys up. He just goes to the mic, and they stop working because it becomes a shoot.
You know who I am. But you don't know why I'm here.
Right after that, Vince sues you guys.
Yeah,
Sues the company, sues you guys, and all of a sudden you're in a deposition. Did you ever think, all right, screw this guy. We're going to beat him? Was that ever?
No, well, see, for me, part of my deal was, and we had the same manager, was we were indemnified. So whatever you want. Now, we were there. I remember when they were deposing us, or that was a different lawsuit. That was a Nasty Boy thing, right?
There's been a lot.
Yeah, but
When you get lawsuits confused, you've been in a lot of them.
Yeah, as I said, the McDevitt deposition, though, was like, because you knew Vince was going to see it, so it was almost like a performance.
Yeah.
What merchandise are you aware of?
This sweet outsider shirt. It's just like the out sweet in capital letters. Outsiders shirt. NWO logo on the sleeve.
Mr. Jess Perryman of Narup and Mavakis Court Reporting is here to provide stenographic recording.
Everything was just so sarcastic and
I haven't seen the tapes, but I've heard about.
I remember reminding the guy, like, hey, guys, you know, I know this is real important to you, but, like, this is my day off. So while you guys are getting in a pinch fight, because the lawyers were going back and forth, like, I object, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I just remember thinking the most recognizable features about my character is my face. So I feel like I own that. And then shortly after all that, the lawsuit went on from day one. But then when the fake Razor and fake Diesel debuted, it pretty much kind of was like, okay, like, done deal. Like, that's Razor and Diesel. We're the outsiders. Gene Okerlund called us the outsiders, so we didn't have to have names. We were Razor and Diesel, the outsiders.
And they were trying, I remember Bischoff, like, trying to come up with, like, a name that was kind of like Diesel.
Oh, I was going to be Laser.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and I was just like, how about, like, Hall and Nash?
When you guys saw the fake Razor and the fake Diesel, I mean, that did not work. But you guys got a big pay raise out of it to begin with, right?
Oh, that was so fun.
And the thing is, like, Bischoff had a podcast with somebody not too long ago, and he doesn't have the recollection, which I'm sure if you're writing checks with somebody else's checkbook, you probably don't recall making the check.
Wasn't it Little Rock when we got the phone call?
No, I was at home, and my pager went off, and it was a 404. I called, and it's, what was his name, Lambros? Nick Lambros? Yeah.
Oh,
So it was Lambros. And he says to me, there's a private jet coming to pick up Scott first, you second. And they came and got us. Scott lived in Orlando. They came and got me in Daytona Beach. And then they flew us to Atlanta, and they took us to Jack and Jill's, which was a sports bar that was kind of connected right into the CNN Center. And we got in this corner booth, and they just basically just put paperwork in front of us. We had like 30 months when we first came there, and now it's 5 years. And the money's like, and they're like, you're not going to pull this on us. And we just sat there, we went, and we flew home.
Waitress.
So they give a big raise to guys they've already signed.
Well, Bischoff said later to me that, he said, man, when I heard that, I thought, you guys are so crazy. You don't care. You're going to jump back. The rumor was we were still getting paid by Vince, so we went with it. Like, oh, yeah, man. You don't get 2 paychecks. Oh,
yeah. I remember the day that they're going to debut Razor and Diesel, and in the back of the production truck, there was a monitor, and Raw was on it. So Scott's standing here, I'm standing here, Bischoff's here, Lambros is here, and the next segment is Diesel and Razor. And they're looking at us like,
but they're here.
Waiting for, like how is this going to happen? Like, is it something that's filmed? Because they still weren't live. And this was one of the tape shows.
Right. And they literally think because it's a tape show, because that happened with Rick Rude.
Yeah, Rude appeared. But Rude's so slick he shaved the beard.
Yeah.
He had beard and no beard.
They're thinking that you might be about to walk out on
Right.
WWE television while they're standing by you.
And they just sit there, and all of a sudden these 2 guys come out, and they just go, and we just looked and we went, and just walked away like dummies.
To me, when I heard about the thing, I heard they auditioned guys for it. They used Kane because similar body type and stuff.
Right.
I heard that they made guys audition because you had to do this shtick to do Razor, which I thought was real. I felt like Elvis. I felt like I had an impersonator,
Did you guys propagate this, the stereotype? You guys had joke a lot about the fact everybody hated us. But when I came in, I'm not on any of your DVDs because I never had a problem with you. So when they interview me, they say, how bad was a Click? And I said, they weren't bad to me at all.
I remember one time we were in Europe, and you just came in, and you had your rope with the bell on it. And I took it, and you were looking for it, and then you said, well, I got to go to the ring, and then during your match, I was standing over by the gorilla position, and I would make the cowbell noise. And I saw you just look back one time when we made eye contact, and you just smiled at me, and I just said, he's not going to sell it.
Well, you know what it is? It's true. The rumor's true. You only rib guys you like. So when somebody new comes in, then everybody's checking. It's a sellout at the curtain. And then oh, wow, he can go.
Yeah.
We can work with him.
Absolutely.
When you guys were there, when I first came in and before, they talk about how fractured the dressing room was. You had the BSK Clique, which was Undertaker and some Samoans, Godfather, a bunch of the guys.
Tatanka was kind of in there a little peripherally, wasn't he?
You had the Click. Was there really that much animosity? Because I just don't remember that much. I remember the animosity between Brett and Shawn because they're both fighting for the same spot. And there was, I guess, a personal rivalry as well.
I know that Bam Bam and DiBiase didn't like us. They went in and told Vince that either you dissolve the Clique or we leave, and Vince basically said, no.
And then Vince met with you guys in Indianapolis in that famous meeting, and
I
basically
remember
gave
him
you the
saying,
blessing.
can I be part of the Clique? And it was like, yeah, you're fanatic about the business, yeah.
And when you were working down in WCW, you had the terrible gimmick with the odds that I think Dusty put on you.
Yeah.
And then Vinny Vegas, that's when Shawn sees you. And you faxed a letter from WCW headquarters, right?
Yeah, I actually went in and went to Ole Anderson's office and got my letter of release. I didn't have a fax machine. I went to the library at that time, 1996. And walked in and asked the secretary lady how to work it, and just fired it right to JJ, right there from the office. And he said, I told him, I said, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm sending it right now. He said, I said, I'm in the office. And he's like, are you kidding me? I said,
did Shawn know you? He didn't know you, did he?
No.
He just had seen you and thought, that's the guy I want as my bodyguard. And it happened to click when you got up there and you guys...
The first time that we met, it was a house show in Albany. I went to Vince's house first and met Vince. He opened the door. He had an Ico Pro cut off, sleeve, And, at that point in your life, it's just like, you're going to Steinbrenner's house. This is the man.
Yeah.
And he comes to the door, and he's just like, he's bigger than life, but he's also just, You know, he's one of us. He's just one of the boys, you know. He's just, you know, he brings you in the house and pats out at the pool, and next thing you know, I get in the car and we go, and I walk in the locker room, and I walk up, I see Shawn Michaels sitting over there. I walk up behind him, I said, "Hi, I'm Nash. I'm with you tonight." You know, and Shawn turns around, and, "Hey there." I'm like, that voice comes out of him? And then he got up, and he was way bigger than I thought he would be, you know, because
that was always Shawn's heat. A lot of guys wanted to try him, but then you see him, oh, he's about 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah, he's a big.
He moves like that. Ooh,
He's a lot bigger than you think. And, you know, that night,
he's always with those other guys, you know.
During the house show, I tripped Marty Jannetty. Shawn goes over and becomes the IC champion. I've been in the company 7 seconds and have done more in 7 seconds than I did for 3 years at WCW. You know, so just like, I'm thinking to myself, like, well, from a business standpoint, I definitely made the right decision. Then Shawn and I just clicked.
We saw this man appear out of nowhere, out of left field, in Albany, New York, when you recapture the Intercontinental title. This so-called bodyguard, this insurance policy, what's his name?
What's his name? His name's my insurance policy. That's what it is.
Oh, he's got to have a name. Does he talk?
Okay, no, I do the talking. You want to know what his name is?
Yeah,
I'll give you the info. His name is Diesel, as in diesel fuel, that which makes a Mack truck go. This is a Mack truck, and this man protects Shawn Michaels every inch of the way.
WrestleMania 10, you were working with Shawn.
Right.
And you have, to me, it's almost like the Dominique Wilkins, Michael Jordan dunk contest as compared to them, as compared to the guys that did this year, which was athletically.
Wow, it really stepped up this year.
In a different stratosphere.
Yeah. Right.
But the greatest of all time was still Jordan.
Right.
The human highlight reel, Dominique Wilkins, because of the drama associated with it. The best ladder match I think most people recognize was the one with you and Shawn, WrestleMania 10.
Well, I remember working with Shawn. A lot of times the IC belt's on the B towns. You know, they run 2 shows a night, so the IC would be on top in the B towns. And we were out in Cali somewhere, which is Blackjack Lanza's towns, and we show up the building, and it just says on the sheet on the wall, ladder match, because we're rocking it in a regular match because we both have belts. Like Shawn had been just suspended. So they have a battle royal, me and Rick Martello, the last 2. Rick puts me over. I'm IC champ. Except Shawn has never been beaten.
Shawn literally would not send the belt back to the company.
Well, it was a bogus suspension. So he took it home, and they asked him what he went, no.
And they literally could not get the title belt back from him.
Well, and this is before replica belts and before multiple belts.
Right.
Like they had one spare. They gave that one to me. You know, Martel put me over. I have that one. That's why our angle started with, like, people go, well, you never beat Shawn. I said, no, you're right. You know, he had a belt, I had a belt. I felt like it worked so well because it was organic. Like, no rules, no ref, no time limit. It's easy to understand. Oh, whoever gets both of them is the champ. And we had some matches around the loop, you know, because we're trying to figure out how to do this. And Lanza was, I guess, reporting back to the office that, hey, these guys are having a pretty good match. So then they decided to make it part of the big show.
That crew could have been one of the greatest crew of all time. The crew that was around 94, 95. But business was terrible. And it proved that these crew had drawing power because they drew all through the Attitude Era in the greatest era of all time. Was that frustrating to you guys?
There's
during
a
that
famous
time?
picture that's floating around of the back of the bus, in the tour bus in Europe. And it happens to be Kevin and I are finishing up.
I was on that tour.
Yeah.
We're heading out. And sometimes when I look back at that, I go, wow, like,
that's the business.
That was that era, both companies. And Vince had us all. We weathered the steroids trial. We did all that, the ICOPRO, the WBF. It was all being funded that. The huge cost of legal defense for Vince.
And the IRS trial as well at the same time.
Everything going on. And what I was proud of is, like, that last night in Madison Square Garden, those, you know, we weathered all that. And I'm not just saying us. The rest of the crew, everybody working hard every night. And my last show there was sold out. At that time.
I remember the first garden that I went to, Hulk was on it. He hadn't left yet. And the house was 112,000. And that night that we left, the house was the highest grossing house he'd ever had. There wasn't
the highest non-pay-per-view house.
It was over 300. So
My
to
first
me, it was
time
just like, okay. And then I always get the quotation of, I didn't draw. Nobody drew.
Nobody drew. Does that grate with you a little bit when people say that? Because you went on to be one of the biggest draws and caused the biggest era in wrestling history.
You know, I look at it, it's just like, people don't realize, like, when they made me the champion, I probably hadn't had 100 matches. You know? I mean, I just never worked. You know, I came in as with the Mohawk as Steel. My partner, we have 8, 10 matches. We go to Christmas television taping. He doesn't want to do a job for the Steiners. They fire him and tell me to grow my hair out. I sit home for a year and a half, come back. They put a dunce hat on me. That works for about a week. I go home and sit down for that. I become Vinny Vegas. I work a little bit, then I come in. First 12 months I'm at the WWE, I'm a bodyguard. And finally, I worked some tags here and there with Sean, but nothing's.
We're all riding together, and because I'm working with Sean then, and we're both, you got a guy like Kev, and we got Pat Patterson's calling the shots. Pat's in your ear, he's helping you, you guys, come on, a little something extra. You're the main event, come on, So, I mean, why not feature the guy? We decided, okay, he does one thing and it changes everything. If he hits you, that was the finish. Boom, that was it. Or, one thing, bang, that's the heat, and why not? You got a big monster like that.
I had such a blessing to watch, Sean and Scott every night. Get in the car, drive 300 miles, and listen to how they tweak it. Listen to how they fix this. Listen to how they, maybe if you do this, and then all of a sudden you start to get smart. You start throwing your ideas in, and they go, well, that's not a bad idea. And you realize, well, maybe I actually have an aptitude for this. Because, my whole thing was, when they put that dunce cap on me, I'm like, I worked my whole life in strip clubs, and I'll tell you one thing. You work at a strip club, and it's a high-end one with beautiful women, you don't show up late to work. You're there on time, and you don't mind going to work. And just like I said to myself, I'm going to go back to what I know. I'm going to sit at the end of the bar and drink Miller Lite and watch the girls work. I mean, I'm not going to continue to do this. So I was ready to give up. And Paige actually told me, no, stick in it, and then that's when Sean called. I was ready to just say, I'll go rob somebody. To make some money. This isn't fun.
When you guys finally go down to WCW, Bischoff had taken a company. There's been a lot of negative talk about Bischoff, some praise, but he took a company that had no chance whatsoever. And at one point, you're beating them for 84 straight weeks. Phenomenal record. The turnaround of that company from when Bischoff got it from Bill Watts to, say, 4 years later when they're actually making money, says something about, say, Eric Bischoff. What was your take on Bischoff and the whole creative process, not for the downfall, but at least leading up to, say, that 84-week run?
People can say whatever they want to say about Eric Bischoff. The one thing I always say is there's only one person on this planet that can say that they beat Vince McMahon for any period of time. When you realize also that a private company is going against, a Fortune 500 company. When he signed us, it was just like, when he thought we were leaving, it was no problem to add, another $3 or $4 million to the mix.
Right.
So, because Ted Turner's used to playing baseball players. I remember one time we were sitting in the back of a Lear. We were leaving Nitro, and Hulk was sitting next to me. I think you were there, and Bischoff was there. It was the Florida crew flying back home. Bischoff looked up, and everybody was putting themselves over. He said, "I'm going to put him out of business," and it was just like that.
And everybody had to go, no, no, no.
I said, we went, oh. And Hulk was the first one. Hulk said, brother, he said, you can drive a stake through his heart, you won't beat him.
Plus, the whole idea was, no, Eric, see, you don't want that because then you're not the golden boy of TNT.
Like, on top of that, too, it was like Bischoff never realized. I think everybody that had come from, the WWE realized that we were the '69 Mets.
Did you feel that way at the time?
Yeah. It would be a main event, be a six-man tag. The music's playing. There's not a finish.
My take on on Eric thing was, for me, I always perceived Vince as the boss, and Eric was like a guy. You can talk to Eric because I have had FU conversations with him in the back. We go out in the ring, and it worked. Because I'm one of them guys, I'm going to lobby really hard for what I think we should do. It ain't always about me. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's about somebody else. But I'll lobby my issue, and then I'll do whatever the consensus says or whatever the boss says. Now, I'm not afraid to come back if it didn't work and look at the guy and go, told you. Or if we do my idea and it works, I love to say I told you so. But to me, another distinction I noticed right away, having floundered in WCW before, coming here and learning how to get over, going back there was, WCW is a television company that produces a wrestling show. The WWE is a wrestling company that produces a television show. Now, guys like us are going to understand that. To some people, they may not get the difference.
Right.
It's a huge difference.
It's huge.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah, because our cameramen are the same cameramen that you were here, some of them from the very first time you were here.
Right.
And we're going to Nitro, and the guy with the handheld on the floor just got done shooting NASCAR.
And he has the first time
idea.
he might have ever shot a wrestling match.
No idea. And you go back and you watch the replay of Nitro, and you're like, how can they possibly miss that many shots?
Because they weren't wrestling guys. A wrestling crew is going to be an apt to get. They're going to know because they've seen so many matches. Okay, this is fixing to happen. Get a shot of that. He's climbing to the top. Go wide. Those guys. And it'd be like, because we'd be doing stuff. and then watching it back going, oh, they almost got it.
At what point, because you guys did a lot of things. I remember Rick Rude when he came in, he said, so let me get this right. Nowadays, we just go to the ring and say whatever's on our mind.
Yeah.
And during that time, you had the Attitude Era, which you guys ushered in, and things became very real. What point goes too far? And the reason I ask this, I just watched the other day the Arn Anderson skit you did. Absolutely brilliant. I thought I've seen it for the first time. It was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. I asked Arn about it, and Arn got very upset about it, but he wasn't upset about the character. He wasn't upset about the making fun of his hand. He said that was all character. He said it was the beer.
Before I go any further, let me let all the horsemen out here know one thing. Guys, the beer's on ice. All right, Daddy! Woo!
He's standing there with like 6 Coors Lights in his hand. And he's telling me about, like, you know, my wife says you made me look like a drunk.
Otis the town drunk.
And I looked at him, I said, Arn, I came to you and asked you, could I have the cooler from your car?
At what point, you know, the Arn thing, it was a big deal. The reason I brought it up, a lot of people have talked about it. But at what point does the behind the scenes not matter?
When it boils down to, there's like really like 6 storylines. You know, a girl's involved, 2 guys, I mean, it's a championship is involved, 2 tag team buddies or my partners of some sort, they get into it. I mean, there's only a couple of real storylines and ways to do things and a million ways to execute it. But, you know, when you get guttural, you know, like you think about some of the things that we did during that Attitude Era, and one of them was the hand. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
You know, that, I mean, I'm sitting at home going, wow, like that's, and to think that if we took it that far, the 2 companies did. I watch the show now, and it's just like, to me, like John Cena has done what is almost impossible in the modern era, and that is to be a white hat babyface and not really, he doesn't, there's no gray matter to him. He, you know, boom, and, you know, and people are like, well, he's not over. And I'm like, you know what? One of my first TVs back, I was in Edmonton, and I was sitting in the back of a Suburban, and I watched flocks of people, and there wasn't a 5 to 14-year-old kid that didn't have a Cena shirt, a Cena hat, and Cena wristbands on.
And when he comes out, everyone is on their feet.
Absolutely.
Whether they're booing him or cheering him, everybody's on their feet.
You know, like, nobody's done it, you know, better than him for as long as he has. And you say to people, just like, yeah, but they're always, I mean, that quality is always, like Vince has always kept that quality on his network. You know, you do have to realize that you have responsibility, you know, especially as you get older, you know, these kids, you know, like for us now, you know, this network, you go to a signing and 70% of the people wanting your autograph are 8 to 12-year-old kids that
weren't even alive.
No.
It's amazing.
And they're coming up and they're taking
they're
pictures.
going like this.
It's because of the network. I love these guys that say, oh, well, we're not getting a piece of the network. You shouldn't get a piece. What do you mean? I get a piece of the network every day of my life. I walk through some place, like, you're immortalized by this network. Like, what do you not get about that?
Right. Plus,
you know?
don't get me wrong, we already got paid for it. They're just it's like being recycled.
I always read some people said, you know, you guys hit the rewind button. They need to hit the rewind button. I'm just like, you watch YouTube for 20 minutes, and it takes it so far out of the realm of just, it's like, what's left to do? Light yourself on fire in the middle of the ring? I mean, it's, you know, it's like, there's only so many things you can do, and it's just like, the program is still, I mean, it's, I don't know. Every Monday when I turn on, it looks like a pretty damn full building to me.
Like, people hit me up. I did some interview last night. He goes, man, what about WWE Creative, this and that? I said, I kind of remember the same kind of mood going into last year's show. And I left there going, wow. I said, I predicted just about the time you think they don't know what they're doing, they go, bang, there you go, kid. Thanks for coming. Tell your friends to buy the network. All these haters already have the network. All the guys booing Cena and now Reigns are already got the network, and they're a bunch of dudes. Like Kev said, Reigns' merch sells. Little kids love him. Women love him.
Sells like crazy.
Yeah, he's right there under Cena, so come on.
So, you know what, my whole thing was, I did an interview the other day, and they were asking me about Reigns. And I said, I lived it. You know, I said, I went to the Royal Rumble in Providence and threw whatever 11 guys out in a row, and they chanted Diesel for the first time. And then they go with you.
As a heel, though. Right?
Yeah, and as soon as you're anointed, and they know that you're the office's choice, all bets are off, because now you're getting a push.
Right.
And
now you're the establishment guy.
Yeah, and it's just...
Well, you're anointed one. I was so lucky when they turned Razor, and it was Vince's idea to do this thing with Kid and this long drawn-out story.
You didn't know Kid at the time, did you?
No. I'd seen him
all
on
Vince's
Global,
idea.
and I was a fan of him. But we did all that, and at the same time, the Lex Express is he's the anointed chosen one. So he's red, white, and blue, the Lex Express tour bus going all around. So he's the one, and I'm like the people's guy, but I'm still like a heel, so it's kind of cool for me. Man, they had every babyface wearing red, white, and blue wristbands. I'm supposed to be from Cuba, and I got the red, white, and blue wristband on. I remember at TV one time I walked right up to the camera and went, I need the job.
How cool was it at WrestleMania? You have Sting versus Triple H, and all of a sudden you see what people thought they'd never see, the NWO versus DX.
Right.
That had to be, to us, we're calling it. And you know, WrestleMania, I don't want to know. I just want to call what I see, and I just want to see it and be a fan. That was one of the coolest things that I'd ever been a part of, and that crowd was just electric.
We're all old school guys, you know, and you're always supposed to, you know, you got your gear, it's in the trunk. I show up at WrestleMania, I'm getting ready to do my Hall of Fame speech, and Hunter walks up and he goes, "What'd you wear here today?" And I'm like, "Sweatpants." Why? I just kind of want to run something by you. But can you guys come to Levi tonight after we get done here? I'm like, of all the time, not to bring your knee brace. And I almost favored it so much, and Billy, you know, it was such a bully ran into me. I'm like, really, I'm going to get hurt? But I will tell you this, I was packing for this WrestleMania, and I said, I won't make that mistake again. I took that knee brace and put it right on top, like, boom, like, you never know.
For me, it felt so cool. I mean, you know, let me get this right. To be part of a big match, like, yeah, I'm available. And I just love to see my friends happy. And like when we first did that Who's the Third Man thing in Daytona Beach, and Kev and I, and it was Kev's idea, the finish was Kev's idea, and Hulk came out and did it because he had control. We weren't sure he was going to do it. When we had left for the ring, we weren't sure he was coming out. The backup plan was turn Sting. The backup plan, Bischoff said if Hulk says no, Sting's going to turn. So when Hulk came out, and it was so great, and just being in the ring with him, like I'm standing next to Kevin Hart camera going, got this one in my scrapbook, woo, did business with the Hulkster.
Was Sting, because I talked to Sting, Sting does not remember. Were you supposed to be the third member of the NWO?
Yeah, this question comes up all the time, and I'll say uncle. Okay, maybe I did, maybe I was penciled in, but you know, some of this stuff I am forgetting. Some of it is turning into a blur. So I've done interviews where Eric is adamant about it. Okay, uncle, it happened.
My recollection is Bischoff coming to us going, if it's not Hulk, it's going to be Sting.
Yeah.
And they were going to buzz the ref and tell Sting.
Because Hulk was in Sullivan's house. Like, Sullivan lived in Daytona Beach at the time.
Yeah, he wasn't at the show yet.
And it
Kevin
was
Sullivan, who was one of the bookers,
was the booker. Like and I guess once he showed, or once it got him where they knew that it was a lock, maybe they didn't talk to Steve and tell him, you know, that he was going to be the other option.
But you guys didn't know when you're out there?
No.
You don't know if it's going to be Hulk or Sting?
No, we've gone to the ring now. Kev's laid out a sweet finish if Hulk does it. That's why I'm so glad to hear that Hulk music play. Because it wouldn't have worked, because the whole perception was the outsiders were New York guys. Vince sent us. At that time in the wrestling industries, who is more WWE than Hulk?
Correct.
Nobody.
I mean, and that was the whole thing is, if he doesn't do that, then obviously we're not sitting here.
You guys still, you can feel the passion. It's palpable for the business. Do you guys want to have any part of the business now? Why have you never decided you want to be some type of outside consultant for creative or an agent or anything like that? Maybe not an agent. You don't want to be on the road. I understand that. But
They've never
why
asked.
is it? If they ask, would you do it?
Sure.
You'd like to be part?
Sure.
Because you still, guys, when you sit around, you talk about the business.
Well, from my point of view.
And recognized as two of the best minds in the business.
Well, thanks for noticing. No, from my point of view, just completely shooting. I've been welcomed back like a couple years. I was doing a lot of things that were not making me welcome. And even during the time, like when I was the guy who left and was successful, which was probably worse. Had I left and failed, then it wouldn't have been such a big deal. And I think I got blamed for Kev coming, you know. But
and you should have.
Well, right. But, I mean, it was like, please come, Kev. I'll be all alone. And but I'm just thinking, I would love, my dream job would be to work at NXT with those young guys. But I almost think you need to shift, like, you know, from the happy thing, there needs to be that little bit of, like, badass.
And is your boy, Cody, is he in the PC now?
No, he's in New Japan Dojo.
Really?
Yeah. He was
you
the
know,
Bullet Club young boy.
Fit Finley's boy is
they're
over there
together
as well. Yeah.
And my son tells me, see, now he's a little frustrated because they pushed him in their top storyline. He's green. He knows it. He just went there to learn and train. He wanted to be in the same thing as Fitz.
What a great opportunity. How'd you get him in the dungeon? Did you get him there, or did he get him there himself?
Well, I knew Hattori. And I called a favor in from Scott Norton.
Cody's like 6'9".
A big kid. I met him before. I met him before one time when he's at one of the shows.
And he's kind of like a 6'9" Orton. He's real athletic. It's just,
he's not ready for NXT. So plus, I want to be around him. Most of his life I was on the road. So, and I'm working on the father-son thing. I'm not real good at it, but I'm trying. I wasn't a very good husband, but pretty good father. My kids talk to me. But my dream job would be to be back in here. But I also realized, hey, just getting clean. Oh, he's been clean. What, a year? It needs to be a long series. I think the best thing I can do for me is to show up places and be clear-headed. Because when I'm clear-headed, my phone rings. I get opportunities, and I can show up and not embarrass myself or my friends and stuff who have advocated for me. I mean, I always say the same thing. I'm not where I want to be, but I thank God I'm not where I used to be. I'm okay, and I'm on my way.
And, of course, DDP, which Will Dockman has been a huge
He's been great to me. Dallas is obnoxiously positive.
Isn't he?
Well, Kev goes, how's it being around Phyllis Diller? I mean, we love him enough that we can heal on him. He was the first guy to touch the NWO back then.
Look at that.
Yes!
Oh, yes, that looks great.
Yes!
It's a fish. Hey!
Whoa!
No, I can't believe what I'm seeing. You just made a big mistake, Dallas. No!
That is out of his mind!
He was the right guy, plus he's our boy.
Right.
We had a history with him. So if we're going to put somebody over, it's going to be this guy. He's the right guy, and he's our boy. He was the first one to touch us. It was great.
After all these years, after all you've done, all the impact you've had in the business, what do you hope the legacy of both of you guys, Hall and Nash, are?
I think just the friendship that all of us had, the five guys. And you were there, in the early days when it was a Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Before Guaranteed Money, man, it was everybody cut everybody's throat. And we looked at each other one day and we said, let's try something different. Let's watch each other's back. Let's actually, we like each other. Let's just
Stick together.
Yeah.
And I think
take
at
it in
that
the
time,
business.
you know how it was back in the day? Nobody talked about payoffs.
No.
Correct.
We got in a car and we started talking about payoffs. What'd you get? And then like sometimes kid, and he'd be right in the mix and be like, oh man, you need to call the office.
I remember one time we had a Survivor Series, and it got down to where it was Scott, me, and Sean. We were the last three guys left in the Survivor Series. Scott and I went 8 or 9 minutes. Sean was in the match maybe 13 seconds. That was to come in while I'm holding Scott, and he gives me the chin music. And he leaves, and he throws we're tag champs. He throws the tag belt in the garbage on the way out. Finally got the Survivor Series check, and I said to Sean on the phone, I said, what'd you get? And he says, I got 40. And I'm like, I got 25. You didn't do it. So I call him, like, what'd you get? He goes, 25. Immediately we call JJ, and you can tell we're on speaker, and I'm ballistic. I'm just ballistic over it.
And I'm the kind of guy, you hurt my feelings. Now my feelings are hurt. Like, oh man.
I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I said, you know what? It is what it is. The next day, FedEx, 15 grand. I mean, just like, but you knew they went.
They're talking to each other.
They're telling each other what they get paid.
That was unheard. Nobody ever did that. And we were like, what'd you get? And like, I got this. Oh man, you need to speak up.
Okay, I got a no bull segment if you guys don't mind.
Okay.
Just a quick hitting thing, 1 word, 2 words, or 2 paragraphs, whatever you guys want. Favorite movie of all time?
Bad movie or good movie?
Either one, your favorite.
Favorite bad movie of all time, Roadhouse. Favorite movie of all time, Shawshank Redemption.
I'm going to go Scarface.
No.
And Cool Hand Luke.
Most embarrassing song on your playlist?
Rick Ashley. Never going to give you up.
I'm not embarrassed by it, but like Marvin Gaye, let's get it on.
Greatest performer in wrestling history?
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels.
Greatest faction, not counting the NWO,
Click.
in wrestling history?
I'll go Horseman.
I say Freebirds.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, I'll retract mine. I've patterned the Wolfpack after the Birds. I'm such a huge Birds fan.
Favorite match that you weren't in?
I'm going to say Mach Steamboat.
Street fight, Slaughter versus Pat Patterson.
Garden.
In the Garden.
With when Slaughter gets the
turnbuckle
turnbuckle juice.
Yeah.
And I've watched that match a million times. It's like 8 minutes long, and it feels like it's 45 minutes long. I would have to say that from a psychology standpoint, that's amazing.
Greatest accomplishment in life?
I feel like I'm living my life in a movie, because I had kind of given up. And now I feel like I have this all new chapter, like part 2 coming up. And I'm so happy because coming from broken home, wrestlers, broken home, broken bones, all that. I'm so happy that I have a relationship with my kids.
I don't, it's my biggest accomplishment. I guess the fact I'm sitting in this chair.
Still here.
Yeah, I mean, I look at, how I lived my life for a lot of years. It's just like, You know, I guess my biggest accomplishment is I'm pretty resilient.
The words of Mickey Mantle. If I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd taken better care of myself.
Exactly.
Well, guys, you have been an incredible impact on business, and in my mind, a huge positive impact. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having us, man.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Kevin.
Good talking to you.
Thank you.